Hello students, this is module 5.6.8, phylum Echinodermata. The echinoderms, the etymology of their phylum name means spiny skin. They were probably named for the urchins. Here we can see a purple urchin among many green urchins. These are interesting animals that include the starfish. They're kind of an enigma of sorts. Let's look at some of the organisms that are found within the group, and then we can look at some of the features. This includes the starfish, the brittle stars, the sand dollars, the sea cucumbers, the sea lilies, and the sea urchins. Now, up to now, the animals that we've been learning about in the previous 7 phyla, they kind of fall in one grouping of invertebrates. The echinoderms are a second grouping. Their origins are unclear from the fossil record. We don't have good fossils, and we're not sure where they came from. Hence the description of them as an enigma or a mystery. But their body plan is unusual. They have a unsegmented 5-part body plan. When it's 5-part, we use the term pentamerous, like a pentagon, only we say pentamerous. They have a unique organ system called the water vascular system. It's not found in any other phylum. It ends up with hydraulics with tube feet. Kind of interesting. Many of the echinoderms, especially the starfish, have little structures called pedicelaria. These are like biological pliers that are found on their back. They're microscopic, so you can't see them with your naked eye, but if you scrape the back of a dead starfish with a scalpel and take your scrapings and put them under a slide, you can see these little things that look like little pinchers. And what they do, because starfish and many echinoderms live in the crowded intertidal zone of the ocean where there's competition for space, organisms try to grow on the backs of other organisms, and the pedicelaria have evolved to prevent other organisms from living on their backs. Like the previous animal groups, the echinoderms have 3 tissue layers: endoderm, ectoderm, and mesoderm. They have a true body cavity. They have a complete digestive tract. Interestingly, the echinoderms do not have heads, and they also, a feature of great importance is that they have the same development pattern as do vertebrates. And so this leads biologists to conclude that the echinoderms are among the most closely related of the invertebrates to the vertebrates. And so it's kind of interesting because they really don't strike you as being that way when you look at them. The skeleton, it is considered an endoskeleton, and it pokes through their very thin skin. So they have calcium carbonate little bumps, plates that are together that make up their skeleton. And it is considered an endoskeleton. And up to now, we have only had hydrostatic skeletons from fluid pressure and exoskeletons. So this is the first endoskeleton that we have seen. The feeding varies, but these animals are typically predators or filter feeders. And we'll talk more about the feeding of a starfish in a moment. These animals have a unique type of symmetry. They have radial symmetry, and it's considered secondary radial symmetry because their larvae are bilateral, meaning that the radial condition developed most likely from a bilateral ancestor. And reproduction is typically sexual among these species. So let me show you an example of the water vascular system of starfish, and then we will talk about starfish feeding. So if we could remove everything except the water vascular system, what would be left is this drawing in the upper left here. Now water comes in through a pore, and I want you to see this. We have many starfish specimens in the lab, and I want you to see the pore that the water enters. It's called the madra porite. And so it comes through there, and it goes down a little straight canal, and then to this round canal. There's 5 canals that radiate out along each of the arms, and then there are these little structures called tube feet, and they have a podium, which is kind of like a muscular kind of like the head of a dropper that you would compress, and then they have the podium or the end of the tube feet, and you can really see them in the photograph here in the center right where it shows those. That's the end of the tube feet. You're not seeing the other part of the tube foot up there. In any case, starfish use these tube feet to feed on things like bivalves. A bivalve, if you don't remember, is a mollusk that has two shells, like a clam. So consider a little clam sitting there in its shell where it's been safe all of its life, and then a starfish comes along and it applies its tube feet. It wraps around the two shells with its tube feet, and it attaches with the suckers of its tube feet, and then it starts to apply pressure. Now, in order to keep those shells closed, the clam has to use its muscles. They're called adductor muscles, and of course, it takes energy to do that. The starfish, though, can apply suction with the water vascular system, close a valve, and then it doesn't have to use energy. And so it's kind of like a tug of war in which the starfish doesn't get tired. Eventually, the clam will tire, and its shell will open just a crack, and that's enough. The starfish can actually evert its stomach, and the stomach comes out of the starfish's mouth and goes right into the clam shell, and it engulfs and eats that clam right in its own shell. Now, it sounds quite terrible when I say it like that, but starfish have to eat too, and they are indeed very admirable predators. So look at the material in class to understand more about echinoderms, and with that, we're going to conclude this module, and this is also the last module on strictly invertebrates. We have one phylum left, and that will be the phylum that includes the vertebrates.